For over 500 years, until the early 1920s, Kayakoy, formerly known as Levissi, was a thriving community of 10,000 where Muslim Turks and Greek Orthodox Christians lived side by side and in harmony. The Muslims lived on the valley floor as farmers, while the Christians lived on the hillside and worked as artisans. The two communities were closely linked by trade and helped each other in times of need. They exchanged food and sweets at weddings and religious festivities. Muslim musicians played at Greek Orthodox festivities. Children went to school and played together in the lanes, while men of both religions hung out at local cafes, smoking water pipes and playing backgammon. Then came the infamous conclusion of the Greco-Turkish War in 1923. Kayakoy was suddenly emptied of its nearly 7,000 Greek Christian inhabitants. Turkey's Christian citizens and Greece's Muslims were expulsed from their homes in a population exchange meant to ensure that each country had only one main religion. The town's name changed from Levissi to Kayakoy, Rock Village, now commonly referred to as the Ghost Town. Today, as we can see, the hillside of Kayakoy remains deserted as a ghost town, never having recovered from the mass exodus in 1923. The homes, schools, shops, cafes, and churches have been left to crumble. Thankfully, a few years ago, the Turkish Ministry of Culture rescued the hillside from mass development by granting it museum status. And today, Kayakoy Valley is home to artists, poets, writers, shops, quaint inns and B&Bs, and unique cafes. Levissi is a magical wine bar and restaurant. Inside this 500-plus-year-old stone building, there is a small winery and cellar, a romantic courtyard, and a terrace restaurant above with $1 million view. Simply wow-inducing. Just check out this entry and 500-plus years stone steps. First, I have to check out the ancient cellar and their wine selection, of course. The small cellar carries not only their own wine production, but also dozens of other select wines from the region. I wouldn't describe the small batch house-produced, vibrant and fruity red wine as extraordinary, but when paired with their tastefully selected gourmet cheese plate, the history and atmosphere, the view, and of course the company, a recipe for a memorably delicious experience. There are no words to describe the experience of sitting on this terrace, sipping a glass of vibrant red, and reflecting upon the stunning but also melancholic view of the ruins of the past. Sobering, breathtaking, melancholic. You must experience this.
When it boils down to it, had they had something like a referendum before this exchange, I can guarantee you they wouldn't have had a single vote from this side, the Greeks, Orthodox Greeks here, who would have agreed and said yes, Y-E-S, to leaving their homes, leaving their 500 years roots and past. and moving to a land unknown to them. Vice versa. Had they asked a single Turk in Greece whether they wanted to come back to Turkey after hundreds of years being in Greece, they wouldn't have had a single vote, one Turk saying, yes, we wanted to do that. It caused unhappiness for both sides, for everyone on each side. The moral of the story being, who did they represent? Whether the government there or the government here. For whose interest was this exchange decided upon, implemented? That's the question, right? Who did they represent? What was it for? Two governments, one decision, and thousands of people unhappy, with lives pretty much destroyed. And you know what? It's not historic either, because we have been living through the same types of examples before then, after that, currently. Think about many of these migrations, forced migrations. I don't know, I don't want to sound like I am some sort of an anarchist, but how do they make these decisions, really? For whom do they make these decisions? And why nobody's voices got to be heard in this particular decision? It was about their lives. It became a very devastating decision for thousands of people. Do we learn from the history? This is what I mean. You come to this place and it's impossible not to get melancholic. Not in a bad way, I'm not saying it in a negative way, but I'm talking about in a way that makes you think. It makes you reflect upon history. It makes you think about the ramifications. And how about learning lessons? How about not repeating mistakes like these? Why does it have to be history cyclical?
As humans, we all treasure our roots, our birthplaces, our communities, those we live and share life with. Similarly, we are all connected by the searing pain of displacement, forced migration, or even economically induced relocations. Whether in the West, South, or the East, we innately relate to those heartbreaks and pain, bridging the illusionary gaps to unite and love one another.